Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
And the rain is here across our viewing area, coming down heavily in some parts of the viewing area. I'll show you where we've already seen several inches and how much more is coming our way.
And we'll take you on the road. You get a live look right here in Charleston, South Carolina, courtesy of the WRAL Storm Tracker. Down there, the mayor has extended the citywide curfew into tomorrow. Meteorologist Amy Wilmoth joins us live with a look at the conditions.
Also, the wait is over. Vice President Kamala Harris chooses Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her running mate. How the Harris campaign hopes the choice will result in victory at the polls.
All right, we have a chance to take you to Charleston very soon here today at noon, and flooding due to Tropical Storm Debbie. Heavy rainfall on the way from that storm. It has claimed the lives of 5 people. It's caused flash flooding Savannah, Georgia, Charleston, South Carolina, and much more. Good afternoon to you. I'm Jeff Hogan.
And I'm Renee Chu. Thanks for joining us. The first rain bands from Debbie moved into North Carolina this morning. The storm has dumped more than a foot of rain near Charleston, South Carolina, where the WRAL Storm Tracker is right now. And we have live team coverage of Tropical Storm Debbie. We begin with meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner in the WRAL Severe Weather Center with a look at our increased chance for flooding.
We're going to start right here and talk about the dual Doppler 5000 radar. We saw that first band of rain bringing some showers to Fayetteville about 2 or 3 hours ago. And we have this first line of some heavy rain moving right into Raleigh right now, heading northward. We're going to be seeing some lightning with this. We're seeing some lightning over around Rocky Mount and Wilson right now, as well as back to the west. We have a tornado threat that is just to the southeast of our viewing area right now. Let's zoom in and talk about what's going on over here around Siler City. We're seeing some heavy rain, and north of Pittsboro, we have this band of heavy rain from Wendell up around the Beltline back toward Morrisville. So lots of patches of heavy rain that we're dealing with right now. Let's talk about how much rain we have already seen. Look at this. We've seen almost 2 inches, look, a little over 2 inches of rain in the northern part of Cumberland County already. That's in 3 hours of rain. We have in Sanford about an inch of rain. Right here near Clinton, over an inch of rain. So the rain is piling up very quickly. It is not likely to end until Friday night into Saturday morning. So we have a long way to go. Our severe threat is closer to the Wilmington area and that yellow shaded area. It's a level 2 risk. We have a tornado watch that's down there as well. We do have a level 1 risk for the southern part of Sampson County. That's where we're going to have the potential for some isolated tornadoes. We have a couple of tornado warnings down around the Wilmington area earlier. Let's widen out the view, and you can see the center of circulation is well to the south. All of the rain is to the north here. And so far, Charleston looks like it's been hit the hardest. So far, just west of Charleston, a foot of rain has fallen, and that's where we have meteorologist Amy Wilmoth in the storm tracker. Amy was trying to get into the city of Charleston. Roads were blocked because they're trying to keep people out of there. And Amy, look at all that water behind you.
Yeah, so we had to get permission from the police. They have barricaded all the roads that lead into downtown Charleston. We got permission to come in and take a look, and many roads are flooded, and this is a look behind us. Some of the folks here, they've been trying to clear out some of the storm drains, do whatever they can to kind of help matters a little bit. There is a mandatory curfew in effect for the city of Charleston until tomorrow morning. It was in effect until noon today. They extended that. The mayor saying this morning in a press conference that they had no rescues overnight. They didn't need to do any rescues, and that's because everybody was heeding the warnings and the curfew and staying home. So they're doing that through the day today because they could get an additional 6 inches of rain, and that is not going to go well. Many roads were completely covered in downtown Charleston. That water's starting to recede a little bit, getting a little bit of a break right now, but there's still more rain to come. So I imagine these waters are going to rise again here in downtown Charleston. It's kind of an eerie look. We were on King Street earlier. No one out and about because of the curfew. Very quiet here in downtown Charleston as far as people being out and about, but roads still flooded in many locations here in Charleston. We'll have another live report coming up in the next half hour. Elizabeth?
Amy, be careful out there. That's really scary to see because we know we've got a long road to go here with the potential for rainfall here as much as 7 to 10 inches across parts of our viewing area. That rain continues this afternoon. This is a look at Futurecast, and you can see it just continues. That rain will be heavy for us for the next several days. It's a 60 to 70% chance as we get through this evening. The storm itself has winds at 40 miles per hour. It is still likely to move out into the Atlantic, grab up a bunch of moisture, and the center center of circulation doesn't come across Raleigh until Friday morning. And now it looks like it will be as a tropical storm. That does mean that we may have a greater potential for some gusty winds that could cause some power outages. This is a big new thing today. We are now under an extreme risk for flooding on Thursday. That has bumped up some of the river level forecasts, which we'll talk more about in just a little bit.
And this is just the beginning. South Carolina, a preview of what's to come here for us. Governor Roy Cooper says state emergency officials are preparing for Debbie's arrival. He spoke to reporters after the monthly Council of State meeting today.
WRAL Capitol Bureau Chief Laura Leslie joins us live from downtown Raleigh with what the governor's concerns are. Laura.
Jeff, Governor Cooper said that the slow speed of the storm is giving state officials plenty of time, of course, to prepare for its arrival. But he said that slow speed could also be its biggest danger. Cooper said he expects to hold a press conference tomorrow about the storm. He said the Emergency Operations Center isn't open yet, but that's likely to happen in the near future. Cooper said it's unclear at this point how much wind Debbie may be packing when it gets here, but it is clear that it'll bring extremely heavy rain, especially to areas near the coast, and it may take it a while to move out.
We're concerned about flooding. I mean, we know that in southeastern North Carolina, people have been victimized by heavy rains before. A number of these areas are already wet, the ground's saturated.
This afternoon, Cooper will join U.S. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm at a local energy facility to talk about what the current administration is doing to make the nation's power grid more stable and more resilient. Cooper also said this morning that he thinks the Harris campaign made the right call in deciding to cancel Thursday night's rally. He said they told him they didn't want to pull police resources away from storm response. A smaller event in Raleigh Thursday morning with GOP VP candidate J.D. Vance is still expected to go forward. Laura Leslie, WRAL News, live in Raleigh.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, we continue to follow Debbie. This is a live look at Folly Beach, South Carolina. This is courtesy of Surf Check. So you can see one person walking along the shore there, but massive waves there. CNN is reporting the city could end up with 20 to 30 inches of rain by the time the storm is all said and done. Charleston's mayor also says they are extending the citywide curfew that began 11 p.m. on Monday. He said he will assess conditions 7 a.m. tomorrow. Officials also saying that residents in a rural part of South Carolina were warned to leave after a dam near their property had the potential to fail. We'll continue to follow Debbie's path here in the Live Center.
And in our state, meantime, Wilmington is one of the areas that could get up to a foot of rain through Thursday.
That's where we find WRAL's Kelsey Coffey, who has been reporting from Wrightsville Beach live this morning. And Kelsey, 6 hours ago, it had just started to rain, and you even had some company on the beach. What's it like now?
Renee, well, most of that company is gone at this point. So we're right near Johnny Mercer's Pier, so you can see that the waves are really picking up now. It's much windier now than it was a few hours ago. We'll give you a look at video now of when that light rain started. We saw it throughout the morning starting at 6:30 as we're anticipating nearly 2 months worth of rain in just 1 week. Flooding is the biggest concern. New Hanover County officials are bracing for heavy rainfall. They've invested in more equipment to control flooding after Florence back in 2018. Leah Phelps is vacationing in Wrightsville Beach with her family from Burlington. Her daughter's surfing camp was canceled because of the storm. Phelps says for now they don't have any plans to drive home early, but they're prepared.
We're safe in the hotel, but no, if we have to get back, we'll just get stuck in all the traffic with everyone else, and we'll play I Spy for 6.5 hours trying to get home.
And New Hanover County Emergency Management just posted to Facebook a couple of hours ago. They're reminding people to prepare their emergency kits. They recommend that each person in your household should have enough items to last 3 to 7 days. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live in Wrightsville Beach.
WRAL will have team coverage from the coast all day and all week as Tropical Storm Debbie moves into North Carolina. We're helping you get prepared for what Debbie brings and keeping you informed moment to moment as the storm impacts our state. You can also prepare for Debbie by downloading the WRAL News app. It will help you stay on top of storm developments. Download the app for free from the Apple and Google app stores.
It's official. Vice President Kamala Harris has selected her running mate as she looks to strengthen the Democratic ticket. This morning, we learned the vice president chose Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota. The former educator turned two-term governor also served in the Army National Guard for 24 years, making him the longest-serving military veteran to be a vice presidential nominee. Harris and Walz will make their first joint appearance at a rally in Philadelphia later today. Harris was expected to visit North Carolina tomorrow, but that visit was postponed due to Tropical Storm Debbie.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, we have reaction to that. Kamala Harris tweeting on X here saying, "I'm proud to announce I've asked Tim Walz to be my running mate. As a governor, a coach, a teacher, and a veteran, he has delivered for working families like his. It is great to have him on the team. Now let's get to work." Also, Governor Cooper also posting to X today saying that Harris has picked an outstanding running mate in Governor Tim Walz. Governors like him know what it takes to get the job done, and he will be an outstanding vice president. Also, we are hearing from Hillary Clinton as well. She putting a picture on X as well, saying she is thrilled to see Tim Walz join the Democratic ticket.
Harris and Vance plan to tour Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, and Nevada. Former President Donald Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, holds rallies in several of those same states. While the Harris campaign has canceled this week's visit to North Carolina, we have not heard from Vance. Vance is expected to hold a rally at Raleigh's Union Station Thursday morning at 9. This is his first official visit to North Carolina since becoming the vice presidential pick.
Stocks are rallying today and making up some ground after yesterday's horrible drop, that 1,000-point drop. You can see the Dow Jones Industrial Average up 468 points right now. Your retirement account has more than likely taken a hit, but financial advisors say the best way to handle things is to ignore the sell-off and keep investing. Most investors have a much longer time horizon that's not measured in days or months. Experts say while these periods are never fun, they are part of the process. A market drop of at least 10% from a recent high, also known as a correction, happens about once a year.
Next at noon, two crime scenes in downtown Raleigh. A person shot and windows shot out in a well-known area. What we're learning about this investigation.
Also, reports of possible tornadoes in South Carolina as we continue to track Debbie up the coast.
Plus, take you back to the beach. Wrightsville Beach here at about 11 minutes after 12. And you see raindrops on the camera right there as Debbie makes its turn up our coast. We'll return more information, and we'll go back down to Wrightsville Beach as well with a live report from Kelsey Coffey in the next half hour.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.
Covering Wake County, a man has serious injuries after an early morning shooting in downtown Raleigh. That gunfire left the large windows right there, PNC Plaza, shattered. Police were focused on two crime scenes just blocks apart. The first was at the intersection of Martin and Fayetteville Street. Video from the WRAL Breaking News Tracker shows police tape blocking off that area. Officers were there for nearly 2 hours. About 2 blocks away, another crime scene at East Davie Street. At this time, nobody's in custody. We now know a man died at the hospital after he was shot in Raleigh last night. Police are trying to make an arrest in that shooting. It happened on Navajo Drive off Wake Forest Road near the Beltline. This was just after 8 o'clock last night. Video from the WRAL Breaking News Tracker shows the large number of police officers and first responders at that scene.
Residents of the Bull City gathered at CCB Plaza in Durham to honor the life of Sonia Massey, who was killed in her Illinois home after calling police for help. Organizers showed up and spoke out against what they call a reoccurring issue of police brutality. Speakers added Massey's name to a long list, including Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, all people of color killed by law enforcement officers.
I got mad as hell. I started crying. And to be perfectly honest, you asked me what was my reaction, was anger.
You keep hearing the same story over and over and over again, and, something has to be done about it.
Speakers at the event emphasize the importance of using your voice to speak up for injustice.
Also in Wake County today, school board members will discuss approving raises for teachers and bus drivers. They're considering raising the minimum pay for bus drivers to $20 an hour. They also have plans for supplemental increases for educators, along with other raises. School board first talked about these raises in the spring. Staff says they can happen now after the legislature has approved the scheduled 2024 and 25 state pay raises. The board's discussion starts at 3 o'clock today. The vote is scheduled for the evening session. That's at 5:30. The Wake County school system says it has enough bus drivers to cover every route this school year. According to the agenda for today's school board meeting, Wake Schools has more drivers than at this point last year. It also has fewer planned routes, so fewer drivers are required. It is unclear how that might change how long it takes students to get to school.
And back to our coverage of Tropical Storm Debbie. NOAA has issued a level 4 risk for parts of Georgia, South Carolina, and parts of our state. A tornado is blamed for this damage in Moncks Corner, South Carolina. You see cars flipped onto their roofs, various damage and signs destroyed at the shopping plazas. And a tornado hit Edisto Beach, South Carolina, causing damage to homes there while knocking down trees and power lines. So the danger with Debbie not just bringing months of rain in a matter of days to that area, but also, as we know, tropical storms can spawn tornadoes, and we know of at least 2 possibly there in South Carolina.
And they're in the low country. It doesn't take a lot to flood those areas. We're not. Get ready for a major shakeup on the internet. A federal judge has ruled Google's search business violates antitrust laws. Google paid huge amounts of money to ensure it's the default search engine on many devices like the iPhone. Analysts say it is likely the judge will say Google can no longer pay to be the default, and companies like Apple must prompt users to search their own search engine, choose it themselves. The next legal phase will decide what changes or penalties should be imposed on Google in order to protect competition. Boar's Head faces a class action lawsuit over a deadly listeria outbreak. It's the second lawsuit the company has faced since the outbreak was announced. The lawsuit alleges the deli meat and cheese company misleadingly labeled and marked its products. It also says reasonable customers would not have purchased recalled products if the company had warned shoppers about any possible contamination. 2 deaths are linked to the recalled products, and 33 people have had to be treated at the hospital.
A new Jackie Robinson statue is now in place in Wichita, Kansas. Dozens of people came out yesterday to attend the unveiling. The statue is for League 42, a nonprofit youth baseball league. It replaces a statue that was stolen from the park back in January. The original statue was later found broken apart and burned. A man who pleaded guilty to the theft and destruction of the statue was sentenced to 18 months in prison. The Panthers will practice today before heading to New England to face the Patriots Thursday. Kickoff will be at 7 p.m. You can watch the game live on Fox 50. This will be our first time seeing the Panthers under the leadership of their new coach, Dave Canales.
Here's a live look right now, Charleston, South Carolina, where meteorologist Amy Wilmoth and photographer Jamie Munden are on site right there live with a look at flooding and efforts to stop the water from rising. We'll check back in with them in a few minutes for an update.
Also this noon hour, COVID cases are on the rise this summer. The reasons for the uptick and what health experts say you can do to keep you and your family safe. But first, here's a look at the winning North Carolina Education Lottery numbers.
Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
The center of Tropical Storm Debbie is slowly moving up the East Coast toward our state. It's causing flooding and producing tornadoes in South Carolina.
We have live team coverage for you from South Carolina to our coast, including a team of meteorologists keeping you safe, involving Elizabeth Gardner in the WRS Severe Weather Center, of course, with a look at our increased chance of flooding here, Elizabeth.
You know, it's nice and quiet this morning, but the rain is here, and it will be here most likely until late Friday night or early Thursday morning. What we typically see with tropical systems is waves or bands of rain. So it may not rain over you the entire time, but we're going to have some bands of some very heavy rain, some thunder and lightning, possibly even some isolated tornadoes between now and the time the system moves to our north. Let's zoom in a couple of places. Over here, a good bit of lightning across parts of Edgecombe County, back over toward Rocky Mount at Elb City, Bailey, Wilson, Lucama, some heavier rain there. And then we have this band that's moving from, say, North Raleigh, just west of Wake Forest, back over through Morrisville, getting ready to lift up through Durham and through Chapel Hill. Good bit of lightning with that one right now. We take a look at our 24-hour rainfall, and it just started raining really just 2 to 3 hours ago, and it's really starting to add up. There in Clinton, almost 2 inches. Parts of Cumberland County, at least 1.25 inches. Near Southern Pines, 3/4 of an inch. Smithfield, almost an inch. Almost 2 inches there across parts of Wilson County and near Goldsboro. So it's really been coming down heavily. We've got a long way to go. We have a level 2 risk for severe storms down closer to the Wilmington area and a level 1 risk there in the southern part of Sampson County. That's where we'd be more likely to have some isolated tornadoes spin up, but it could happen anywhere. The hardest hit area so far has been near Charleston, where we've ended up with over a foot of rain just west of Charleston proper. And that's where meteorologist Amy Wilmoth is with the storm tracker out on the streets of Charleston. And last time we checked in with Amy, you're standing there with all that water. And I know you've been talking to some residents there. What are they saying about this?
Well, it's interesting to talk to the residents. So they're out here, they're clearing the drain so that the water can recede properly. But they told us that the city really did some precautionary things before the storm got here. One of the things that they did, you can see the water that's on the road here. That's why it's barricaded. But one of the things that the city did before the storm got here was they actually lowered the lake levels of Colonial Lake, which is right over here, by 2 feet. So that's something that they don't typically do. This is a new thing that the city has started to do, and they also have pumped out water with pumps throughout the city. Now, I do want to let everyone know that the city of Charleston remains under a mandatory curfew until tomorrow morning, so they have extended that. The flash flood warning now has been extended until 4 o'clock this afternoon. So they've had some very heavy rain, and you can't even get to the city of Charleston. All the roads leading into downtown Charleston are barricaded. So earlier this morning, the entire downtown area was covered in water. That water is receding. The resident that I talked to said it was really bad during high tide, which is around 10 o'clock this morning. And since then, they've slowly seen some improvements. But we'll have more live reports in our late newscasts with the flooding here in Charleston, South Carolina. Elizabeth.
Yeah, Amy, thanks for that report. Be careful out there. It's been amazing to see how much rain has fallen around the Charleston area. Also interesting to note that the city of Raleigh has dropped the lake level in some of the lakes. Lake Johnson, for example, they've dropped the lake level there too. So folks here are getting ready as well. We take a look at futurecast for the rest of the day today. We're going to continue to see waves of rain, and we'll push that on out to tomorrow. We just continue to see this. This is going to be through Friday night. A 70% chance of rain tonight. It is likely to be that the morning commute is messy for tomorrow as well. Looking at as much as 5 to 7 inches of rain in our northern counties by the time this ends late Friday, and 7 to 10 inches from Raleigh southward, as much as 10 to 15 around the Wilmington area. By far, flooding is going to be our biggest impact out of this, but we do have the potential for some wind to produce some isolated power outages. And of course, that wind may be a little stronger. We've got some storm surge issues along the coast. We're going to take a closer look at that in just a few minutes.
Elizabeth, thanks. We're going to take you to the Carolina coast now. Officials in New Hanover County are urging people to make sure they have emergency kits assembled as Debbie approaches.
WRAL's Kelsey Coffey is live at Wrightsville Beach with an update on conditions there. Kelsey, good afternoon.
Jeff, we're still experiencing that wind that I mentioned earlier in the last half hour, but more people are out here on the beach despite these uncomfortable conditions. We'll take you to video now from earlier this morning when we started seeing that light rain around 6:30. As we're anticipating nearly 2 months worth of rain in just 1 week, flooding is the biggest concern. New Hanover County officials are bracing for the heavy rainfall. They invested in more equipment to control flooding after Florence back in 2018. We spoke with several vacationers who say they're considering cutting their trip short. New Hanover County Emergency Management just posted to their Facebook page a little while ago. They're encouraging people to make sure that they have their emergency kits in place. They recommend that everyone in your household should have enough items to last for 3 to 7 days. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live in Wrightsville Beach.
And WRAL will have team coverage continuing from the coast all day and all week as Tropical Storm Debbie makes its way toward North Carolina. We are helping you get prepared before Debbie arrives, keep you informed moment to moment as it moves.
You can also prepare for Debbie by downloading the WRAL News app. It will help you stay on top of storm developments. Download the app for free from the Apple and Google App Stores. New research reveals the foods you should eat to keep your heart and kidneys healthy. One item that is likely in your pantry may surprise you.
Well, so talk to a doctor about why we are seeing a surge in COVID cases this summer and the best ways to protect yourself.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, this just into the newsroom. Due to Tropical Storm Debbie, several communities have canceled or postponed tonight's National Night Out events. They say for any updates, you should go to the City of Raleigh's National Night Out page. But they say because this is a national event, coordinators in each community are responsible for making the best decision based on weather in the area. But a lot of these events have been canceled for tonight.
Michelle, thanks. As children get ready to go back to school, doctors are encouraging parents to get them vaccinated and also to get their teeth checked out. But there is something else that parents should not forget. Eye exams. August is Children's Eye Health and Safety Month. Signs that your child may need glasses include squinting, tilting their head, or moving closer to see the TV.
All the time it's important for them to be able to see, but especially when they're starting to learn and as they're getting older and the font that they're reading gets smaller and they need to see the fine details, we need to make sure that they can see well enough to be able to learn, and we don't want anything holding them back.
It's never too early to take your child for an eye exam, even if they don't know their letters yet. There are other ways to check their vision to find out if they need glasses.
COVID cases are on the rise this summer. What's behind that increase and how you can keep your family safe? We're joined by a CDC expert after the break. And we'll give you this live look at the streets in Charleston, South Carolina, as we continue to track Tropical Storm Debbie, and we anticipate flooding. They've seen some flooding there just a couple hours removed from all of the streets in downtown Charleston being completely flooded. The city is barricaded, can't get in. And there's a curfew until tomorrow morning as well. That surge is coming up our coast. We'll check in with meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner after the break with the storm's latest track. COVID cases are on the rise this summer, and health experts say the uptick is partly due to people staying inside, trying to retreat from the heat, looking for air conditioning. The illness is also mutating quickly. So what can you do to keep your family safe? Joining us with some of the insight into this, Dr. Caitlin Jetelina, an epidemiologist and data scientist. Dr. Jetelina, thank you so much for joining us here. Is there more to it? I mean, kids are going back to school. They're going to be in confined spaces. People are looking for the air conditioning in confined spaces. Is that leading to the uptick here?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of infections out there right now for COVID-19, and there's really three things driving this wave. One, like you mentioned, people are going indoors because it's hot. School is starting. Viruses spread very easily indoors. Two, the COVID continues to mutate very quickly, about 2 times faster than the flu. So this is why we're typically seeing this summer and winter wave with COVID. And then our protection is waning. Unfortunately, after your last infection, after your last vaccine, protection wanes over time. And so these three things are really driving this surge. A lot of infections out there. Unfortunately, this also means an increase in hospitalizations and deaths, particularly among the medically vulnerable as well.
And the folks, they may be thinking, well, it's late in the year to be worried about the COVID vaccine itself. It's too early maybe for the flu. Where do we stand on that? The two need to come together at some point, right?
They do, and we're going to get 2 updated vaccines, one for COVID, one for flu for this fall. It should be coming out in the next couple weeks. And we need these updated vaccines because these viruses, like I said, continue to mutate. They keep creating new versions of themselves. And our updated vaccines really address these mutations and make sure our immune defense walls are patched and really strong the next time we see this virus.
Yeah, it's hard every year to try to calculate the flu virus, right, and get the right vaccine for that. COVID mutating quickly, maybe even more so. Are they safe and effectively updated to the point where folks shouldn't be concerned about it? Get them both at once, just go do it?
Yeah, these continue to be very safe. In fact, with COVID-19, these vaccines are under the most intense safety monitoring in U.S. history. There's hundreds of millions of people that have gotten the vaccine, and the story doesn't change. This vaccine is safe, same with the flu, and it's far more safer than getting infected. We are seeing that these vaccines provide additional protection every year, too. About 60% additional protection against hospitalizations and deaths, particularly among those over 65. So yeah, COVID is still around, and we still need to remain vigilant and stay up to date with vaccines.
All right, Dr. Caitlin Gentilino bringing us up to date on where we stand with this. Can't believe we're still talking about it 4 years later or so, but this is where we are. We thank you for the information. Appreciate it. Renee?
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Jeff, good information there on keeping families safe. We're also here to keep your family safe on another topic, Tropical Storm Debbie. This will dominate our coverage this week. And Elizabeth, we're just getting started. Our southern community is seeing already significant amounts of rain just this morning.
Yeah, already in 2 or 3 hours, we've seen as much as 2 inches of rain, especially across parts of Cumberland County. Some pretty heavy rain now from, the eastern part of the viewing area up I-95 and eastward. And we've had this interesting band of rain that's been moving up through the Triangle area as well. We'll zoom in on that one, and you can see about to see some very heavy rain in Durham. We've seen some heavy rain there in North Raleigh and through Chapel Hill as well. Starting to see another band lifting on up through Fuquay-Varina and Holly Springs. As a matter of fact, a quick note on Fuquay-Varina. If you remember the storms that came through on Saturday, I happened to be driving right through. Officially, it was an EF1 tornado that touched down, did a little bit of damage there in Fuquay-Varina. The Weather Service folks have been out doing a site survey. But look at this in Chapel Hill. It is coming down. It is absolutely pouring rain right now in Chapel Hill. And that's what we're going to see with this system. We're going to have waves of very heavy rain. It'll taper off for a while. They'll have more waves of very heavy rain. And those bands that are producing the heavy rain, of course, are the ones that are going to get us into so much trouble. This is lunchtime tomorrow. And then it looks like it could be very heavy during the evening commute and overnight tomorrow night. I wouldn't take the timing of those too literally, but this is what we're going to see on and off for the rest of the day today, tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday before this moves on out. It's a high risk for flooding in that red shaded area from the Triangle area southward for Wednesday, and then it gets even worse on Thursday. It's an extreme risk, something that we rarely see around here. So that chance goes up to high and then to extreme, and then on Friday we'll likely see a little less rain, but maybe a bit more wind. Friday's the day that the center of circulation will move through, and maybe a little more blustery Friday into Saturday, but we should see a little less rain. So our best chance of rain is going to be tomorrow and Thursday. And again, those rainfall totals are really looking impressive. From Wilmington northward, about 10 to 15. Some areas south of Wilmington could be up to 20 inches. Of course, they've already gotten 13 inches near Charleston, where meteorologist Amy Wilmoth is. Our northern counties, 5 to 7, 7 to 10 between Raleigh and Fayetteville. That's going to be through the duration of the event, which should end late on Friday, early Saturday. This is an update. New tropical storm warning. This area along our southeast coastline was under a tropical storm watch. Now that tropical storm watch stretches all the way over toward Morehead City. And along this line in particular, we have a storm surge watch. 2 to 4 feet of storm surge are possible. So our coastal impacts look like this. Again, we have the storm surge. Of course, all of our coast is very low lying. So we'll have some storm surge, some major beach erosion likely. With situations like this, it's not likely to be as big an impact along the Outer Banks, but there could be some overwash on Highway 12, certainly. 40 to 45 mile per hour winds, isolated tornadoes. We've already had a number of tornado warnings around the Wilmington area, and 10 to 15 inches, and flooding is likely, especially central to southern coastline. All 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, are all weather alert days for us. High temperatures will be in the low 80s. Of course, coming up this evening, Kat and Mike will be on top of this. We'll have new forecast maps. We'll have new rainfall estimates, and just staying on top of what we're expecting over the next several days.
Elizabeth, thanks. We've seen them in the hands of Olympians on the podium, but have you ever wondered what's in the box? The answer after the break.
And winning Powerball numbers on your screen: 29, 42, 44, 51, 54. Powerball's 12. The multiplier is 2.
As we wrap things up, here's a look at a few of the headlines we are following today.
The first rain bans from Debbie have moved into North Carolina this morning, and Governor Roy Cooper says state emergency officials are preparing for the storm's arrival. Cooper said he expects to hold a news conference tomorrow about the storm, and he said the Emergency Operations Center is not open yet, but it's likely to happen in the near future.
The storm has dumped more than a foot of rain near Charleston, South Carolina, where the WRAL storm tracker is right now. It is causing significant flooding there on the streets as you look live. There is a curfew in effect right now and extended through tomorrow morning. Our crew got special permission from authorities there to be able to show you what the flooding looks like there in Charleston right now from all that rain. So expect live updates throughout the day on WRAL.com from the WRAL Severe Weather Team and our crews spread across the coast.
And it's official. Vice President Kamala Harris has selected her running mate as she looks to strengthen the Democratic ticket. This morning, we learned the vice president chose Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota. The former educator turned two-term governor also served in the Army National Guard for 24 years, so that makes him the longest-serving military veteran to become a vice presidential nominee.
The new